name is Jenny Wu, and I will be teaching AWS architecture. The course code is CIS 133. I actually started my career in a completely different field from where we are now. I was a financial auditor for a number of years at PricewaterhouseCoopers. I mainly worked with companies in the natural resources industry, so mining, oil, and I decided that one day it wasn't for me. I didn't really like the work that I was doing, so I wanted to make a change. I ended up going back to school for a second degree beyond my first Bachelor of Business. And my second degree was in computer science. So I did a 3-year computer science bachelor's program, got out of school, went to a startup. It was a HR analytics startup called Vizier that eventually became a unicorn. And then after that, I was a software engineer at Amazon Web Services working on the AWS billing console. Did that for a bit and wanted to get into cybersecurity. So I went to Palo Alto Networks working on their cybersecurity orchestration and automation response product. It's called Cortex. And I was a customer success engineer for a number of years working in post-sales engineering. And then with all my experience in the industry and working with customers, I wanted to get into a pre-sales engineering role. And in the industry, sometimes it's called solutions architect. And I got really lucky. I got hired back into AWS. I was a solutions architect in their WWSO, which stands for Worldwide Specialist Organization, working specifically with digital native startups, digital native businesses, and independent software vendors. And I get really lucky to be in this role now teaching at CIAT. I actually was teaching from a very young age. In middle school, I started tutoring for students that were much younger than I was. And then when I went to college, I was a teaching assistant for a number of years in business. So I taught financial accounting as well as tax. It helped me just build a better retention of my own knowledge. And I've also been really lucky just in my career overall to have people hold the door open for me. And I really want to pass that forward as well. So teaching is my way of paying it forward and making sure that people who come after me also have the same opportunities. I have done a lot of research into the student profiles before coming to CIAT. And given that a large population of the students at CIAT are people who are transitioning into a different career away from what they're used to, this really resonated with my own experience. On top of that, I'm married to a Navy veteran, and I could be empathetic to people who are looking for transitions into a civilian career. And hearing that many of the students here are from a military community transitioning out into civilian workforces, I was really motivated to help any way that I possibly could in the same population that my family is in, especially because we went through a bit of a struggle when my husband was transitioning. And so coming through all of that, I wanted to be here and be a pillar of support for this community. Let me start with the professional side. So in the recent years, generative AI has been a really big thing in the technology industry. At first, I was a little bit skeptical because artificial intelligence and machine learning has been around for around 70 years now, so it's not new. But once I got to play around a little bit with generative AI and understanding how it works under the hood, I became really interested in how powerful it could be, especially in just our day-to-day lives, whether it be learning or being more productive with our work. And to be honest, I think it's actually quite fun to become more creative with the aid of generative AI. So that's my professional interest so far. I actually have a background in cloud governance and security, so that's my professional area of strength. So I'm happy to have conversations around cloud governance as well as security, but also areas of interest is generative AI. Now, personal life, I have a very young daughter. She's almost 3, and she takes up most of my time outside of work. I also have a dog, a Bernedoodle, so I spend a lot of time with my husband, my daughter, and my dog. And this is what you would find me on a off day. So on the weekend, we'd be walking along, going for a hike. I'm also really lucky that I live in the San Francisco Bay Area, where there is a lot of mountains and views of the water. So that's where we typically would be on a weekend. I would say that being a student is probably one of the most exciting and also the most challenging periods of life. It's when we get to meet a lot of people who are going through a similar stage of life that we are. And when I was a student, if I could go back 10 years and give myself a little bit more advice, I probably would say to be eager, to ask questions, to reach out, and to learn as much as possible, to be curious. Sometimes even questioning what we are learning. Textbooks can often be wrong, and we don't need to take things for face value. And then applying the strengths that each of us all have from our different paths of life, and where we were previously, and applying that to the role of a student, whether that be being very creative or garnering interest, creating a community of other students who are interested in the same thing as you are. I actually found a lot of my lifetime friends when I was in college, and so I think for people who are coming back for a different type of education, this is another opportunity to build that community. So I haven't actually been teaching students, but just based on my understanding of the course curriculum and what I see other instructors teaching, I find that what's being taught at CIAT is a lot more practical in the industry than if you had gone to like a traditional college where you're learning a degree in science or engineering, and a lot of that is theoretical. I do believe that theory gets us further down the road if we were doing research, but for day-to-day applications and like being able to hit the ground running when we start a new job, having the applicable skill set to take what you learn in school and use that directly on the job, I think is a lot more meaningful.